Okay, we're on.
All right. So, welcome to PSY 3040. This is Animal Behavior. My name is Todd Shackelford. I'm the chair of the Department of Psychology and a professor here at Oakland University. And with me is Gavin Vance. Gavin is a PhD student working in my lab. He takes an evolutionary perspective on various features of human psychology and behavior. And maybe I'll ask you to just say a little bit in just a moment, Gavin.
Mm-hmm.
What we want to do today is just spend no more than an hour, and I think we may end up getting it done before then, but I'll watch the clock because Gavin and I just agreed that there's no reason for it to go on longer than an hour. What we want to do is cover the syllabus. We want to cover the class. We want to make sure that you, the students, understand sort of what you're getting into, what we expect of you, and what you can expect of us. Let's see. So Gavin has the syllabus. You're not going to put it up just yet. Hold on one second.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, and then he'll put it up and we'll talk through it. But let me just say a couple of things. Gavin and I have co-instructed this class before, and I'll speak for both of us, I suppose, and say that I certainly enjoyed it. The students seem to have enjoyed it, and I think it was very successful. And I'm looking forward to doing it again. And I won't say anything about the books just yet. I'll wait until we get to the syllabus. But let me say that so today, this is just to cover the course and the syllabus and expectations. Beginning on Monday and every Monday thereafter, Gavin and I will have a discussion about the reading assigned for that week. So, for example, on Monday, that is next Monday, what's today? Tuesday?
It's Monday, actually.
Sorry, it's Monday. So next Monday, Gavin and I will have a discussion that addresses the topics for week 2, which is the preface for the Dawkins book, which we'll talk about in just a moment, and chapters 1 and 2. Gavin then will post that on Monday, and we'll ask you to watch that along with some other talks and videos that will supplement our discussion. And by Saturday morning, I think is the date we gave. Sorry, I accidentally stumbled into a piece of the syllabus. What we'll ask you to do is post 4 to 5 discussion questions in the discussion forum by Saturday at 9 a.m. each Saturday for the material from that week, in addition to answering at least 2 other students' questions, responding to at least 2 other students' questions. The whole point is just to keep you engaged and involved. I mean, our experience is that students who are more involved and engaged do better in class. And it's really that simple. And you'll accidentally get a lot more out of it because you're engaged. Also, each week, also due by Saturday at 9 a.m., we will ask you to turn in a brief reaction paper. We'll talk more about that in just a moment. So, and that'll be due again by 9 a.m. on Saturday, every Saturday. So, and there's one exception that we'll get to in the syllabus. But the bottom line is, this is how the class goes. This will function as the lecture, the discussion portion, and typically we go for, a couple of hours, something like that. Then we'll assign some other videos, lectures, interviews that we think are particularly useful and that students in the past have noted are particularly useful. And then, you'll, of course, do the reading and do the discussion questions, post your own, respond to others, and complete the reaction paper. So that's what happens each week. So it is fairly involved. But again, if you're willing to do the work, if you take the time, okay, we're not asking you to offer discussion questions that reveal that you're an expert in behavior. I mean, that would be silly. I mean, why would you be taking this class? We're looking for evidence that you've thought a little bit about the material. Okay, clearly that you've watched our discussion, that you've watched the videos and lectures that we've assigned. There's a couple of podcasts, I think, in there. And that you've taken the time to struggle with the material. Okay, it doesn't mean that you are an expert on it. It doesn't mean you agree with every single thing that you've heard, but that you're thinking about it. What that means is that students typically do very well in this course, or a few students will do very poorly. In fact, a few students will consistently fail. But it's very straightforward reason why. It's that they don't do the work. They don't turn in the materials. They don't post discussion questions, and they don't respond to anything. Well, that's one way to fail, is simply blow off the class. But you will find that if you are willing to put in the time and effort, Gavin and I are very happy to help you along, okay, and to do what we can to make sure you get as much as you can out of this class. So going back to who we are, let's see, I got here to Oakland University in 2010. I was hired as the chair of the department and also to build graduate programs. When I got here in 2010, there were no graduate programs, just undergraduate programs. And by 2012, we had PhD and MS programs, and we have since graduated, I think, somewhere around 20 PhD students and about 60 master students. It's gone along remarkably well, and we're able to attract really excellent graduate students like your co-instructor, Gavin. Most of my work, all of my work is guided by an evolutionary perspective. I apply Darwin's theory of natural selection, sexual selection, and the principles of these processes to human psychology and behavior, as well as a few other species, but my focus is really on humans. Most of that work addresses sexual conflict, that is conflict between men and women, including violence, sexual coercion, also conflict more broadly in the family, including child abuse and neglect, and killing. So all sort of less happy topics. But I think they're important topics, and they're the topics that I find most intriguing. Let's see. Before I was at Oakland, before I got here to Oakland, I spent 13 years as a professor at Florida Atlantic University in Southeast Florida. And before that, I was a graduate student. I finished my PhD in 1997 with an evolutionary psychologist called David Buss at the University of Texas at Austin. But most of my graduate work was spent at the University of Michigan, where David Buss was before he moved to Texas. And so from 93 to 96, I was at the University of Michigan. And that's how and why I knew about Oakland University. I saw the ad come up, and I've always loved this part of the country. I'm a diehard Michigan fan. Sorry, Sparty. But this is just what happens. So I was happy to come back to this part of the country, and we have, at the time, we had 3 small children together. We now have 4, and it's really, really tough to raise kids in Southeast Florida, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, unless you're super wealthy, and we weren't. So we moved here, and we're much happier for it. Okay, Gavin, maybe you could say a couple of things about your background and what you're interested in.
Yeah. So, hold on. Gotta make sure my audio is coming through here. It's still not.
Is it?
Man.
I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah. It just on the audio mixer for the recording, it looks a little low. So hopefully it's all right. But no, I think it's good. Okay.
Okay.
So yeah, I did my undergraduate at U of M Flint, and it was there that I had always sort of been interested in evolutionary perspectives on psychology. I had always known that I wanted to do research, but my interests were sort of scattered. And then eventually I learned that there was an evolutionary psychologist at U of M Flint who was on sabbatical at the time, so I waited for him to come back. And then Bill McKibben, when he did come back, I started working under him and tried to get involved with some of his research projects, and then he turned me on to a lot of the work that he had done under his advisor at Florida Atlantic, Todd Shackelford. So sort of through Dr. McKibben, I became familiar with Todd Shackelford's work. And so when I started looking at graduate schools, I applied to Oakland to work under Dr. Shackelford, and that was in 2018, and I've been here ever since. And since then, my research interests have narrowed from sort of a vaguely evolutionary perspective to looking. Right now, a lot of my work is interested specifically in female adaptations to guard or protect against rape or sexual coercion, which is pretty similar to a lot of the work that Bill McKibben has done in the past as well. Um, so that's basically it so far.
All right, excellent. And we'll try to remember to discuss some of our research as we're going throughout the term, because I think it's I think we have the luxury, I suppose, of doing research that's just really interesting. So we do work on, on violence in relationships, sexual coercion. Gavin and I have a new project where we're looking at the relationship between men's reports of erectile dysfunction and male sexual jealousy, among other things. So hopefully we'll have an opportunity to talk about some of that, but this isn't a class about our research. It's a class about animal behavior, so we'll do our best to sort of navigate that in a way that's useful for you guys, the students. So let's take a few minutes to talk about the class and the syllabus. So you want to bring that up, Gavin?
Yep.
Will I see it too?
No, you will not.
Why? Why can't?
Because it's just on my screen. So my screen
students see it?
captures. Yes,
Oh, but I can't see it?
correct.
That's a shame.
But
Yeah, I have
if you tell me what to focus on, I can make sure the screen is on it when you're talking about it.
Okay, fine. Well, you'll just wing it
All right.
as I go through it. Okay, so at any rate, this class is, okay, so it's totally online, and we will not be meeting virtually, as a class, that is. Now, Gavin and I are both very happy to meet with you guys individually as you wish. Okay, you just have to let us know. I mean, I have office hours Wednesday morning, 8 to 10 a.m. Gavin, I don't know when. Oh yeah, I see. Gavin's are 12 to 2 on Tuesdays.
Yep.
That's virtually or by phone. Same with me. The thing is, probably those times won't work for many of you, and that's fine. Okay, just let us know. I mean, I will speak for both of us because we've had this conversation before, but it's really important that you guys feel open, and that you understand that we really do enjoy talking to you, and we really do enjoy touching base with you. And I appreciate it when students in the class contact me and want to talk because they have a question or they're confused about something. Because, I read that as you're interested. You're interested in understanding what we're doing. And I think that's, you would say that's true for you as well, Gavin?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard students say, yeah, but I don't want to bother you. Or, this is what we love to do. I love talking about this. I love talking about this class. I really enjoy helping students get clear on a topic or an issue. So please, please reach out to us, and we're happy to talk with you by phone or virtually, however you want to do it. Okay. So this is a very broad course. We will be covering a huge range of animal behavior. And by animal, we do include humans. Humans are one species of animal. We'll talk about many different species, and much of the second half of the class will focus on primates broadly, including chimpanzees, bonobos, gorillas, and humans. But we'll begin by talking about what evolution by natural selection is and how one applies an evolutionary perspective, and what that really means to apply an evolutionary perspective, what it doesn't mean. We presume that, like us, well, okay, here I'll speak for me because I can't recall your experience, Gavin, but I had literally no education about evolution before I got to college. It was my second year in college, I think. I was introduced to Darwin and evolutionary thinking. So I presume that that's probably true for many of you, that you don't have a background in biology or in evolution. And so we like to start at square one and make sure we're all on the same page here. It's evolutionary thinking, evolution by natural selection, Darwinian thinking, it's deceptively simple. We'll talk about it. The first book will address evolution broadly. It's a book by Richard Dawkins called The Blind Watchmaker. The subtitle is Why the Evidence of Evolution Reveals a Universe Without Design. And so we'll talk about things like evolutionary time. We'll talk about adaptations. We'll talk about byproducts of adaptations. We'll talk about various pieces of evidence for evolution. Again, it's really intended to make sure we're all on the same page and that you appreciate that scientifically there is no question but that evolution by natural selection is the cause of all complex design, apparent design in the universe.
Hey,
Todd, life, yeah.
Can you check your syllabus? Because the one I have still says climbing mountain probable, and I just wanted to make sure that the one we uploaded to Moodle says the blind watchmaker and not climbing mountain probable.
Well, the one I printed says the blind watchmaker.
Okay.
You want to check online to make sure?
Yeah, let me check real quick.
Yeah, we've used different books. We'd like to start the class with an overview on evolution, and we've used different Dawkins books in the past. What does it say?
It says the blind watchmaker, so that's
good.
That's good. That's the one I'll use now.
You must have an older one.
Yeah, I had an older one saved in my computer. So just as long as students had the correct one, that way they weren't, confused.
Maybe when you send out the note today about this video, could you attach the current syllabus?
Yes, I will.
Do you need it, or do you have it?
No, I can download it from Moodle. I have it now.
Okay, excellent. And incidentally, well, let me just back up. So Richard Dawkins is a very well-known biologist who's written many books on evolution, and he has an uncanny ability to explain things. He's won as many literary awards as he has scientific awards. So his writing, I think, is clear. It's straightforward. I think he does an excellent job of explaining things to people who don't have a background in evolution or evolutionary biology or Darwinian thinking. And that's a huge virtue in a class like this, where you want to make sure we're all starting on the same page. So this book, The Blind Watchmaker, will get us to, it'll give us a very clear overview of what evolution is, what it's not, and in the process, he gives examples from hundreds of different species, many different animals. And so you will incidentally get a wonderful overview of animal behavior as he explains the different features and elements of evolution by natural selection. Would you agree?
Yes.
Yeah. Actually, I don't know. Have you read The Blind Watchmaker?
I have not.
Okay, but we actually used last term, we used a book called Climbing Mountain Probable. Mm-hmm. And you've read other Dawkins books because I've assigned them for other classes.
Right.
But many people argue that this is his best book, The Blind Watchmaker, because it's likely to reach the broadest audience, given the care with which he, explains things. That was the intended audience. It was anyone who's interested in understanding. Okay, so if you'll see on the detailed schedule, you'll see that we're in week 1. Week 2 will start, who knows exactly when it starts, but basically it's next week, week 2. And we will cover the preface to his book, so please do read that, and chapters 1 and 2. Okay? And then you'll see that week 3, we cover chapters 3 and 4. Week 4, we cover chapters 5 and 6. 5, we cover 7 and 8. 6, 9 and 10. And 11, week 7, we wrap it up, covering chapter 11. Then the second half of the class, we apply this evolutionary thinking. We apply these ideas to humans and other primates. And there we will read a book called The Goodness Paradox by the evolutionary biologist, evolutionary psychologist, evolutionary scientist, Richard Wrangham. And The subtitle of this book is The Strange Relationship Between Virtue and Violence in Human Evolution. So there is a focus on humans, but you'll see that it's very well informed by research on non-human primates, which is Wrangham's primary area of work. This book also, I think, is beautifully written. It's straightforward. It's easy to follow in the same way that Dawkins's is. It's not to say that the concepts are all simple. I mean, some of them are more complicated, but the writing will not be a stumbling block. That's always a good thing. So that's what we'll tackle the second half of class. You want to add anything at this point, Gavin?
No, other than that, I agree with everything you've said. The book, at least The Goodness Paradox, which I have read, is extremely easy to read, and I thought really, really enjoyable and interesting. So, excellent.
Yeah, and actually, Gavin's done a real nice job of identifying really interesting TED Talks, and videos, and interviews, and other series. Are we going to have them watch the PBS series this time? Or
yes, I think so.
Okay. And then also there's the series by Dawkins, Growing Up in the Universe.
Yep.
Yeah, we assigned that one too as well, right?
Yes.
Yeah, at some point. Anyways, Gavin has done a really nice job of supplementing the text with some very interesting and I think really useful videos and lectures and podcasts. Again, just kind of shake it up and hear about some of this from a perspective other than you sitting there reading or listening to Gavin and I discuss this material. I always try real hard to, bring the material to life in as many different ways as I can think. If you look at I'm looking at the first page of the syllabus here. Let's see. So there are the two textbooks, the required texts. Both are available in paperback. Both you can get used in paperback. Okay, this is recorded, but I'm sure the university wouldn't appreciate me saying that you can get these books cheaper than at the bookstore. But you can. You might even stumble upon them uploaded somewhere on the internet. Do what you got to do. You don't have to have the paperback. You don't have to have the ebook. You get the books in whatever way you prefer. Let us know if you have any trouble. You shouldn't. Question is, how much money do you want to spend? Okay. Let's see. Blah, blah, blah. You guys, we trust you can read much of this. In terms of what's, the grade determination, there are 4 components in the class in your course grade, each one of which is worth 25% of your course grade. The first component is online discussion questions and responses. This is what I mentioned earlier. Each week, with the exception of this week, I don't think it doesn't make sense to have discussion questions and responses this week.
Right.
Beginning next week, every Saturday, you will enter into the discussion forum, which you'll see online. You'll provide 4 to 5 discussion questions, okay? Legitimate questions that you have. I mean, please, this is going to be much more useful for you if you actually present questions that you don't really know the answers to. I think you will find that students can be an incredibly, an excellent source of information and, bouncing ideas off of and, getting feedback from. Gavin and I will very occasionally pop in and offer comments, but this is really an opportunity. I mean, we'll see all the questions and all the responses, and it's really an opportunity for you guys to interact. We'll jump in, if it makes sense, but we want you to present 4 questions and then answer questions from at least, 2 of your fellow students.
Yep.
At least 2 other classmates. And that doesn't mean, that just means at least 1 question from at least 2 other students, okay? In case you're, wondering about the details. I mean, what we're really doing is trying to give you an opportunity to get engaged. And we record this as we record this as evidence that you are engaged. Even if the questions you ask or the responses you provide indicate that you don't understand the material, you will still receive full credit because you're working on it. And if you don't get clarifying responses from other students, well, then we will offer clarifying responses. Okay? So that's what we're looking for. You get full credit if you present 4 to 5 questions that have, that basically make it clear to us that you are thinking about the material, you are struggling with the material, and then you'll get credit if you indicate, if you provide responses to at least 2 other students' questions. I mean, we're not trying to be tricky it is what it is. It's up to you to submit the questions and to submit your responses. But again, you will get full credit if you do it on time and there's some indication that you're working through the material, you're thinking about it. Okay? Anything else you want to add there, Gavin?
No, I think that covers it.
Okay. There is one exception on that 9 a.m. Saturday deadline. And it also applies to the brief reaction papers. So I'll hold off, and I'll tell you about the exception in just a moment. The brief reaction papers are also worth 25% of your grade. Here, we're asking you to complete and submit using Moodle.
Sorry, I think it might be worth mentioning that the discussion questions and responses are actually worth 50%.
I'm sorry.
Yep, so it's 100 for your own discussion questions, and then it's another 100 for your responses to other students. So the discussion question total makes up half of your grade, which is pretty significant.
Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, thanks, Gavin. Right, so 400 points total, 100 are assigned for your discussion questions, 100 are assigned for your responses to other students' questions, 100 are assigned for brief reaction papers, and the final 100 is for the comprehensive exam. That all adds up to 400 points. So again, the online discussion questions and responses are 50% of your grade, 200 out of 400. Brief reaction papers are 25% of your grade, and comprehensive exam is 25% of your grade. But look at that. We've tried to build in an extraordinary incentive for you to stay involved. I mean, my God, half your grade is keeping up with discussion questions and responses. Okay? And you know what? Incidentally, I promise you, you will actually learn something about animal behavior in reading the material and in generating discussion questions and in responding to other students' questions. You can't help but to learn something. The brief reaction papers, these are 2-page, double-spaced papers. Typed, obviously. You're not going to scan it in. You're going to type it in. You're going to submit the document. 2 double-spaced pages through Moodle. We've actually given you some parameters there. 12-point New Times New Roman font, 1-inch margins. That's just so people don't, make it tiny because they can't get to the point. They have 8-point font or 20-point font, and they've written one sentence. And here for these brief reaction papers, they're also due at 9 a.m. before 9 a.m. or by 9 a.m. on Saturday. And as I indicate here, as we indicate in the syllabus, unless otherwise requested by the instructors, these reaction papers should address the readings assigned for that week. You can decide. You pick out something that you want to write about for a couple of pages. Or you maybe want to shift to a couple of different topics. Whatever grabs your attention, okay? Take an opportunity to write a little bit about it. Again, you will find that writing about it sometimes clarifies it for you, sometimes makes you realize that you don't understand something that you thought you understood, okay? In which case, you would reach out to Gavin and I, and we'll be happy to chat with you. But really what it does is it forces you to take a deep breath and sort of reflect on what we talked about the previous week, okay? Anything further on that, Gavin?
No, I don't think so.
All right, there will be one comprehensive exam, okay, it'll cover the entire course. Typically, it'll be an essay exam. We will distribute it on December 4th. You will have 1 week to work on it, okay? You can share your responses and your ideas with other students, with us, okay? The idea is to talk with other people about it. Now, obviously, what you turn in should be your own independently written exam. But other than that, we encourage you to talk with your fellow classmates and talk with Gavin and I. Okay, we'll talk more about the final as we get a little bit closer, but you will have a week to do it. You will have access because you'll be at home. You'll have access to all your books. or your 2 books. You can go back through and rewatch a video or a podcast. The point is, it's an opportunity to reflect on the material that we covered. Typically, we have somewhere around 4 questions. They're intended to be, very broad questions. And as we will talk more about, you'll have an opportunity to submit draft responses to us so that we can review them and offer comments and suggestions for improving your grade. Okay, so before you officially turn it in. So really, if you're willing to do the work, we're willing to do the work. And everyone can get an A in this class if you're willing to do the work. All right. Any other comments on the assignments, Gavin?
No, I don't think so. That about covers it for now. If I notice anything in the future, we can always post an announcement to Moodle, or it's something we can address in our videos. I got one thing I'll say is do please try to offer some different insights in your reaction papers from your discussion questions. So just so long as there isn't a huge amount of overlap, so long as you're not addressing the exact same points in your discussion questions as in your reaction paper for that same week, then I think you'll be all right.
Yeah, good point. And I suppose if you're like me, or maybe like Gavin, if you're obsessive and you're not sure if your reaction paper is what we have in mind, I mean, if you really want to obsess, you can send it to us and we'll comment on it. I mean, in all likelihood, given our experience, it's just fine. But we also appreciate, being anxious and obsessive. So, I mean, really what we're looking for is your engagement and involvement and your interest in understanding the material. Okay, I mean, both Gavin and I are suckers for student interest and engagement. Not that you're an expert, not that you can read it faster than anyone, or you write more, beautifully than anyone, but that you are struggling with and engaging with the material, because that's how you learn it. You fight with it. So, that one exception I mentioned, Oakland has this feels like a new thing this fall, because I really don't recall having a fall break. Well, at any rate, we do have a fall break, and it falls on I do by 9 a.m. Okay. During the week of October 12th through the 16th, week 7, fall break occurs, and it goes like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or something. There's official dates in there. Bottom line, we cannot, or I guess, I don't know if it's, we literally are not allowed to, but we just, ethically, we'd rather not have something due on a day that is supposed to be a break. Okay, so week 7, and we'll remind you once we get closer. For that week, your discussion questions, your responses to other students' questions, and your reaction paper for that week are going to be due on 9 a.m. Monday, October 19th. So you get a couple extra days instead of that Saturday, because the Saturday falls within the break period. Okay? It's actually not complicated. We have to explain ourselves a little bit here.
Right.
All right. Well, anything further? Anything else we can clarify or say, Gavin, that you think we haven't yet said?
No, I don't think so. I think that pretty much covers everything so far. I think we did mention that all of the materials for week 1 will be uploaded a week from today on Monday. So we'll record our discussion of the first couple chapters of The Blind Watchmaker. We'll upload those. It'll be a link to a YouTube channel where I've uploaded previous discussions, and I'll make sure to put all of the video discussions for this class in its own playlist on that YouTube channel. That way it'll be separate from the other videos on that same channel.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, because that was confusing.
Yeah. And then I'll also provide links to the other YouTube videos and the Dawkins lectures that are on a different website, all of that will be under the week 1 subject header on Moodle next week.
All right, very good. Well, we're very excited to have you in class, and I'm looking forward to it. I've read both books many, many times, and I'm looking forward to rereading them again. I think that's always my policy, is whenever I assign a book, I always do it over again. And, try to get myself back into the mindset of, being, new to this area. And I enjoy it. And again, like I said, I think these books are both extremely well written. That doesn't mean they are. It means that I think they are. Some of you may disagree, but nevertheless, I think they're engaging, certainly. And we'll look forward to animal behavior for the fall term. So.
All right, cool. Sounds good.
Good. Okay, thank you.